Hello. I've been talking about having a prosperity mindset. You know, the reason why, in retirement, a lot of people don't achieve financial success, they have a lot of financial stress. One of the major reasons, actually, I know I talked about three major, but there's one I left out. One of the major reasons why they have a lot of financial stress is actually the inability to differentiate assets from liabilities. And even if you don't have of mind, you don't have the strength, you don't have will of mind, you don't have that mental toughness to say, oh, I'm going for assets. Your mind, you're supposed to see assets. To say assets, I'm going to get assets. No matter how long it's going to take me, I will just accumulate assets. I will accumulate assets far more than liabilities. How will you accumulate assets if you don't know what an asset is and what your liability is? It will be very clear. If you're in your journey to building wealth, it must be very clear what an asset is and what a liability is. There should be no doubt in your mind what an asset is and what a liability is. Our great father of financial literacy, Robert Kiyosaki, told us what an asset is. An asset puts money into your pocket. An asset adds money to your pocket, and it puts money in your bank account. A liability takes away money from your bank account. A liability takes away money from your bank account. It takes money from your pocket. So now the problem is many people that have made a lot of money, but at the end of the day, you see that they are not financially successful, they are not stable, they're still in financial crisis. It's just because they don't know the difference between an asset and a liability. Simple as it is. And they keep buying liabilities and wondering why things are going wrong with them. You must understand what an asset is, and you must, as a young man, you must make up your mind to accumulate assets. You must accumulate assets. But lots of people accumulate liabilities, and they wonder throughout their lifestyle accumulate liabilities, and they wonder why they don't have enough money saved for retirement, why they don't have any financial success, why they can't. It's wealth, why they don't have any wealth, because wealth is what you keep, it's not what you spend. It's what you keep, not what you spend. So you see young men nowadays, when they graduate from university, the next thing they'll go and buy a big car. Next thing they're going to build a house. They use everything they have, by the way, doing it. They're going to build a big house. But by the way, in a future video, I'll tell you why you should not build a house fast. You shouldn't build a house immediately. You have to, you shouldn't be in a hurry to build a house, because the house you live in is actually a liability. It takes money from your pockets because of repairs, because of plumbing system. You call the plumber one day, oh, this thing is bad, you have to replace this and that, and there's nobody paying you for it. You're the one paying it from your pocket. But of course, apartment buildings, the houses that you rent out, you use for short-let apartment, that one is an asset. The car is a liability, of course, unless you use it for business. You have to fuel it, you have to change the oil, you have to pay for repairs, you have to pay for servicing. It's an expensive, that's why you can't really buy expensive cars. When you're starting out, you can buy a good one, nice cheap one that you can maintain. Or you can go ahead like one of my friends, when we just graduated and we're starting out life after service. The guy's strong. Myself, I know fit hold them. I had to, when I started working, I had to go and get a ride. My friend, before he bought a car, the guy bought 4 plots of land. 4 plots of land. The guy no send anybody. 4 plots of land he bought. And in my mind, I was like, you strong. You mean you were jumping bus, we were using bus, using keke? Because one day while I was walking, I used keke 3 times. I said, nah, I don't feel do this kind of thing again. And that's why I go carry my savings. Everything what I get, use and buy a ride. That time, don't take sha. It's been a while. Since I bought that ride, it was very difficult for me to save up to buy any plot of land. What saved me was that I was single and I was living very frugally, you understand? I was living very frugally. That's how I was able to save. But it was more difficult. It's easier to buy plots of land and buy property when you don't have a car, as a young man when you're starting out. That's why when you're starting out, it depends on what you do. You have to check and see, if it's possible for you to buy assets like plots of land, like property, like shares, like treasury bills, like bonds, like mutual funds, like BTC. If you can buy those things before buying liabilities, please try and do it, because it gets more difficult when you start buying the liability. If you have a car, even if it's the cheapest, to maintain car like a Corolla is more difficult. It gets more difficult depending on what you are earning. So it's actually easier to buy assets when you don't have any liability draining you down as a young man. I'm still going to do another video. What most young men, when they're starting out life, what they need to do to be financially successful. You must know the difference between assets and liabilities. And in your mind, you must be ringing that, oh, I must have assets, I must have assets, I must get assets, I must get. If you don't want it, this is why, if you don't want it hard and long enough, you see that you could just buy anything anyhow, and then before you know, you'll be wondering why you don't get money, why there's no financial buffer. You know, things don't just happen. Things just happen. You make them happen, and that's why you have to be proactive. This is called proactivity. You don't just pray and say, I hope that at old age, or maybe when I'm older, that somehow money go there, or maybe I go hit jackpot or something. No, you make it happen. It's called proactivity. You don't wait for a savior. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save anyone. We'll save ourselves. We are going to save ourselves by God's grace. Yes, because the economy has never been better. You can't wait for the economy to be better. Never since I was born, I've never heard the economy getting better. You get what I'm saying? But meanwhile, in the same economy, people are doing well. They are making their own. The little you own, the little money you get, try and buy assets. See, you're not making much. You can buy shares. There's shares of 5,000 naira. There's shares of 500 naira. There's no excuse. If you don't have money for the S&P, you can have money. You have money for at least from Nigerian stock markets. You can even do akawo. You can do contribution in your place of work and buy a plot of land somewhere. If you cannot buy Maitama or Ikoyi, you can buy in Gwagwalada now, or you can buy Ikorodu. I did tell you. There's no excuse. You can buy all those places. You can even team up with your friends to buy assets. So assets are things, like I said, that put money into your pocket. We must learn to accumulate assets. We must have that mentality that we'll buy assets first before we buy our liabilities. So what happens is that we have to buy land, buy property, apartment buildings if you can. You have to buy shares, mutual funds, treasury bills. You have to buy apartment, art, businesses, things that can put money in pocket. Intellectual property, if you are talented, your music album or your movies or your YouTube channel or your social media assets. Anything that puts money in your pocket, your businesses, you buy those things before you start buying your luxury cars, before you start buying your big mansion, before you start buying your houses, before you start buying your yachts, before you start buying your boats, before you start buying a lifestyle, before you start doing expensive shopping. It's not everybody that wants to do expensive shopping, but for those that want to, before you start buying your luxury cars, it's important you buy your apartments, you buy your land, you buy your houses, you buy your businesses, you buy your property, you buy your mutual funds, you buy your shares, yes, you buy your treasury bills, you buy your bonds. You do that before you start buying liabilities. Most people, they have a lifestyle of buying liabilities. That's why they are where they are. So today, differentiate assets from liability and have it straight in the back of your mind. Next video, I'm going to talk about what you need to do as a young man and then how to save, because if you can't save, you cannot invest anything. So share your thoughts in the comment. Bye.